7:03 PM on Wednesday, October 15th, and I will call the Finance Committee meeting to order. This is a hybrid meeting and it is being recorded. If we encounter technical difficulties during the meeting, then it will switch over to an in-person only meeting. I have with me in the room, Dean Hodis, Andy Olderman, Maury Creighton, and myself, Sarah Melish.
Good.
Oh, and then guests from the select board, Ann Harrison and John Round. I don't see, Gail, are you online?
I see Gar.
Somebody coming?
Oh,
Here.
good, thank you. And Gar Morse is just joining us. Gar. Peter is out of the country and Tom Parkins moved to Gloucester, which required him to resign, so here we are. The first item on the agenda is the fiscal year. I'm hoping Andrea's gonna join us because I kind of need her. Is the fiscal year 25 year-end report, which was sent to us by Andrea. I think she sent it the end of last week and then she resent it today with some updates. And here's Fire Chief. Okay.
Oh, here comes Andrea.
Okay.
Shade.
Does it smell like a birthday candle burning?
Yeah.
I'm not
Really
attuned to
sensitive
smoke
to
like
that.
you are.
Rely on your professional opinion.
That's a job.
Burning in the house?
I don't have very good system spells, so I'm just saying.
Spot here if you want, Andrew.
Smells like fresh heat. Just got turned on.
If it is a fire, we're in good hands.
Sorry, as we are, if somebody decides to drive into the ocean on their way home.
Making this a bit of a weird, but when I was in high school, we had a kid who was great at basketball. Our basketball team went to the state championships. And after the state championships, he drove his mother's car through Reed Park and into the harbor.
Oh. Rick Ackerman?
Rick Ackerman.
Well, I'm sure whoever owned the car from yesterday, from this morning will have something to say. Okay. So did people have a chance to look at this 2025 year-end report?
Yes.
Are there particular areas that people want to address? I have a few, but I'll let others speak first.
Recreation kind of jumped out.
Yeah, revenues were low.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know why?
I looked in the detail, and it was, the parking was lower than we had received in years past.
All the rain in June.
You're right.
Yeah.
And it was mostly on like weekends. Weekdays.
Where does recreation pay for parking? Like at
It's their
At
revenue.
the beach,
the beach? Oh, at the parking lot?
yes.
Okay,
Out of towners.
right.
Tony,
Hello.
come on in.
Yeah, how's it going? Good to see you. God, can I sleep behind you? Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
I'll grab a chair. Wrong. You got it? Thank you.
Okay,
I can just-
so parking, anything else, Andrea?
and the beach passes, and I think it was because, this is the second year that they've done the early bird special, the discount,
Yeah,
and so I think a lot of people took advantage of that, looks like.
I'll also make my own side comment, which appears to me that they don't pay a whole lot of attention to people coming on. They have a sign up and if people pay, they pay, but it seems to me that a lot of people just walk by. That's my aside. Not that I've stood there and counted people. Just.
Well, I have a
Yes, Carl.
comment. I look at this from like 60,000 feet up in the air.
Yep.
So it appears to me, from what I read here, is that our total revenues were $38 million, more or less,
Yep.
kind of like that. And we spent approximately $35 million or 36, rounding up.
Mhm.
So it's always good if your revenues are greater than your expenses. Not a news flash, obviously, but is that in keeping with history as far as the margin that we've got here? We've got a, whatever it is, a 7% margin.
I think that we have struggled in this area. And I think that last year we did make a policy decision, which would say that the revenues for the upcoming year would be 95% of the prior completed year, unless the finance director determined there was some reason why we should be using a higher or lower figure than that based on her knowledge.
And we're talking about revenues. These are the accumulation of all of our departmental budgets. They reflect actual, the managerial expertise. And so, and the fact that those were, I guess, kind of in keeping with our expectations, and that our costs were being around 35 million is, or excuse me, is that about right? Yeah. Let's say 36 million. That's a positive. Do we have any statutory reason why we have to have, I'm in favor of it, but do we have to have a profit, so to speak?
Does this,
Well, I also just wanna make a note too, like,
Sure.
yes, I have, like the 36 million for expenses, but
Yeah.
that doesn't include any capital
right,
Okay.
expenses,
Well, but
so.
in my accounting, I don't, capital costs are not a annual.
Right.
That's the way I do it. I amortize, I know, it's different.
some of our
Yeah.
capital costs
Okay,
from the tax rate?
okay, yeah, good.
But this sheet is really just is the revenue side. And what in the past, we've always been conservative with our revenues and ended up putting it in the rain barrel. And we've been encouraging them to be more aggressive with estimating it. So this is like a perfect, I see this as fruit from that discussion.
Okay, okay.
Just
Sure.
to your point, if our revenues are high and are higher than budgeted and our expenses are lower than budgeted, we end up with sort of what we call net income in the
Yeah.
commercial world.
I love it.
And but in this case, it all drops down to essentially reserves. And this is something that this committee has been talking about for a whole lot of years, like, how big do we let the reserves go? And at the end of the day, what reserves really are is we're holding on to taxpayer money and sitting on it. And so, when that reserve number gets to be really big, we should be taking notice, and certainly others are taking notice. So
And maybe lowering the tax rate a little bit or something. like that.
lowering the tax rate or lowering our
Paying a
estimates.
dividend.
Paying a dividend, yeah. Put it into commercial words, yes.
Yeah.
I think that the way the tax rate is calculated is we take the estimated revenue less the estimated expenses. and subtract out any money we're using from free cash, and then the net amount we need to cover our expenses goes into the tax rate. Is that a fair summary? Simplified summary.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Usually my
Yeah.
overview, yes.
And that's one of the
Thank you.
things we've been looking at each year is how things in the budget impacts our tax rate, so that we're not going wild on that.
On the reserve, comment. Division of Local Services, really recommends 5% of your budget to be held in stabilization. I think a better practice is to be around 10%. We're at around 8%, right? So that's healthy and good, I don't think it's alarmingly high. But I do think, as we get into later in this discussion about capital and the next 5-10 years, those types of things we have to think about. And that, and how we approach that.
Well, and I think last year we looked at it and reduced it from 10 to 8. And there were some years when we did 16%. And that's
Really high.
that's when we started really using a lot of our reserves,
Capital.
yeah, for capital, and that's one of the things we only use them for capital expenses.
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna see it go much less than 8, but I
Right.
don't think we have to be aggressive to get back to 10.
Right, no, and that's not our intention, and I think that when we get further in this and look at the reserve calc, the estimate is that we're at 9%. So we have like just under 300,000 to use in next year's budget to be at the 8. And part of our challenge is it includes our assessment of the schools.
Mm.
So as a percentage of the operating budget we control, it's a little high, but the auditors seem to say we needed to include our cost for the regional,
Even though they have their own.
even though they have their own reserves, yeah.
And then just another quick comment on estimating revenues. We have to be mindful of how we get more aggressive on that, because Andrea, as she changes her estimated revenues and reports to the state, any sort of significant increase, I forget what that amount is, has to be explained. You have to explain why you're, making that change from year to year. So we have to think about,
10%.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of our policy is, so we're trying to put in 95% of the previous year. Unless there's any specific reason to change it. That's kind of what we've requested.
Yeah.
So my other point, which I will repeat, is that, do we actually depreciate our assets? And based on any, likely schedule. In other words, if we have a firehouse, and the firehouse is supposed to last, I don't know, 30 years or 20, I don't know, something like that. Do we take 1/30 of the cost basis of that firehouse and charge it against current operations? Now that's what a business would do. And,
We don't wanna store up that excess money
okay,
from current taxes. And so I think that's the point of doing this 25-year capital plan
I get it, yeah,
that
okay,
we've been working on is to try to keep those expenses within a reasonable amount regarding total increase in taxes. I mean, Essex takes a different approach. I think Essex has $9 million in reserves. But it's all in these little buckets, and the only bucket we have is, we have the free cash, we have stabilization, we have the apparatus fund for fire, and we have the enterprise accounts.
Retainer.
And those are really the only buckets we have, and we've been really reluctant to stash away money, because I think I think our taxpayers have been receptive to the budgets we've been presenting of being what we really need. And therefore, we feel, what we've seen is if we need more, they seem to be willing to
And
come
our
up with it.
debt is not overburdensome.
Right.
Say, we don't have $34 trillion of debt.
No, we've been,
Like some.
Yes,
entities do. But
we went through a number of years where we did not increase our debt at all.
Yeah.
And now we're back into the needing a little bit of debt.
Yeah.
The 25-year plan showed some years where we were approaching that 10% ceiling to whatever that ceiling was, but we're looking at it, yeah.
that,
So just to quickly go back to the total revenue and
Yeah.
expense number, the difference is about $2 million in this.
200. Yeah, 200,000.
couple of million, isn't it?
It's not, the difference in revenue is 844.
So 38.
I was taking the revenues minus the expenses, is a couple of million, right?
So that's the total expenses.
The
Don't know if they're not-
expenses are different, but like 285 or something.
Right, so, and I was trying to figure out what's the portion of that $2 million delta that capital is taking out.
If you look over at the reserve calculation,
Just one question on Andrea's general fund revenues. The 844,158 is essentially revenue received beyond budgeted revenue,
which is
Right.
2%
Right.
over the budget.
which is 2% over.
Yes.
Right, but if you go to the FC estimated tab.
Mhm.
I think that kind of summarizes how we get to the only having the 286,000
Okay.
available in the reserve account. Because the expenditures are, whoops. Only 91,000? No, that's enterprise.
The 286.
Oh, general fund expenditures, that might be a good tab. I guess it was 369, 368.7. Right? Was expenditures, the difference between budgeted and actual
Yes.
was almost 369. So the 369 and the 844 is the number GARS. See. But then there's because this doesn't include the capital expenditures, correct?
Correct.
So on at that 598, the difference between and local receipts,
Mhm.
at what point does that go into the reserve? Like, isn't that,
That's the calculation, if you look under FC estimated,
you know,
It's in the back.
okay,
that's that's the calculation of how to determine what goes in to the fund, so they can't just take the difference between the revenues.
no.
They have to
use
also
that.
look at the expenses and everything else,
Right, that's right, okay, that's true, never mind. Of
and
course,
carryovers and
this is only revenue, it's not profit. Okay.
and then she has carry forwards, which are monies we didn't spend that she's assuming we'll spend next year, so it doesn't go into free cash. Right? Right.
But we're not like the federal government where if they don't spend it in a year, it disappears. Never mind. I won't say-
It goes into our free cash,
Yeah,
Goes
okay,
in free
thank you.
cash.
which we can then use in the next budget, so there's a delay of a year. Because what goes in the end of this year won't be available until the fiscal year
27.
28.
28.
So 28.
What was closed out at the end of June gets certified for us to vote on and you to vote on in the spring, or the fiscal year starting in July.
So we take it into consideration when we do the budget.
Thank you.
So that the gap is that certification time.
Now I looked at the capital. And you have a number of things listed as closed, so you've moved that excess money
Yes.
to the reserves, but there are some here that I thought that we had identified that needed to be closed that haven't been. Like one of my pet peeves, which is the
Sweeney parking.
barn DPW garage area, the $100,000 tent that they never put up.
Oh, yeah, no, that should be closed.
Okay,
Sorry about that. That one, and that's check the Sweeney parking lot is the other one.
okay, good.
The library building construction grant match also should be closed.
Right, that was the other
Yeah,
one, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So sorry about that.
So you've actually moved those out to free cash or not?
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
so I
okay.
haven't rolled them over or anything, so.
Okay.
All the free cash.
So that's little extras to free cash is when we have, I think what we said is on the capital items. What did we say, if they hadn't been spent in 2 years,
2 years.
that you would look at them and
Yes.
we would roll off the ones that made sense to roll off and only keep those that. There were specific reasons, like dredging, we wouldn't wanna roll off and.
Right.
We don't generally roll off water and sewer stuff. Well, we were having troubles that people were getting money, not spending it. And particularly those 88,000. What else?
Andrea, were there particular surprises that you found kind of at the end of fiscal 25 that you were like, how'd that happen or what? It kind of went off what you were anticipating.
Yeah, and I think there were, and I think we kind of like flushed it out when we did the year-end transfers, because we had so many year-end transfers, and that just I was not expecting that. So I'm really looking to make sure that we don't do that.
Oh,
again.
good, yeah.
No.
Well, my concern, it used to be before we switched the accounting of what town meeting approved, things couldn't be spent unless it went through the FinCom reserve account. And now it seems to me there's so much flexibility within the budget that people aren't being quite as good about keeping within the budget, and we're depending on other departments to come in under budget, and that just makes me a little nervous. Anybody else to?
So, yeah, no. I was surprised to see that there's 131,000 in sidewalks left. Chuck was saying that he was out, but we could definitely use a few. That I rode my bike down the Union Street Hill the other day, and that sidewalk is just,
All the sidewalks are
There
horrible.
are a couple of.
but if there's no money, but there's 130 here, let's.
Well, that might be encumbered.
Yeah,
I just didn't know it.
you did it.
I didn't,
Yeah.
he said we were out, so I wasn't sure, but I was like,
Doing the sidewalk from up to the beach.
Yeah, I think we rolled it forward into the current fiscal year and we're using it for projects now.
so Union Street up to Beach. That's.
No, I think it's,
Each.
no,
No.
Old Neck Road up to the
Yeah.
circle, the beach circle.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
Including the circle. Sidewalk.
yeah,
And that definitely needs.
yeah, no, it's
it's rough.
seeing all those people,
A lot of
they're
traffic.
walking in the street now because it's so bad.
Where they make you walk through the rough dirt if they're coming from the other way and won't move over. A lady complained to me once because I wouldn't walk through the dirt. I ignored it.
And, the abutters are okay with that, but there was some right of way issues before, but It seems to have quieted down.
I wouldn't say they are, enthusiastic. But we met with a few of the abutters. We talked to them about the issue that we're dealing with there. I think ultimately, once the project's done in the next couple weeks, people will be pleased. It's hard because you wanna be responsive and understanding to the abutters, but that sidewalk serves hundreds of thousands of people beyond just the abutters, so there's working that out.
I really like the change in the lighting standards. That was, yeah, I'm glad we didn't put the same one back up.
Yep,
after we got it 3 years in a row. So, yes, kudos.
Anything else on the capital fund? Where do we stand on the completion of the purchase of the senior center?
We are currently in talks with legal counsel on our side and legal representation on the Mason side, ironing out the condo docs. So we're making progress. Beyond that, we've had a lot of meetings regarding the senior center, how it should be used, and talking with the friends and the board. We had a charrette today at Masonic Hall, talking about that plan. And then other COA related item is we have the director position posted, and we've received about a dozen applications
Wow.
already of really qualified candidates. So
Which will help that project.
all of that is moving in a good direction, in a positive direction. We'd like it to be faster, but it is a very unique land transaction dealing with condoizing a nonprofit building with a municipality on registered land.
Near the ocean.
Near the ocean.
What would be worse?
It's complex. We've been there.
And because of the delay, if they change the footprint, it all has to go back before ZBA.
Footprint from what was proposed.
What was approved by the ZBA.
I'll have to look at that. I
So you're aware.
I don't think the footprint has changed.
Oh, okay.
Other than the addition on the front side where the COA was. It had kind of a jog in by like a foot or two.
Yeah.
We just moved it to be in line with the existing wall, so I don't know if that might require it, but we'll,
I don't think that was a setback issue, but.
no, it wouldn't be. We have plenty of room on that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on this? Okay. Next is the launch service.
It seemed like the revenue from the launch service were a little lower than we
Uh-huh,
kind of thought they might be.
And they are.
and I looked at the projections too. Projected budget, and they're way low.
They are, and I've noted in my email that I'm working with Brian to like confirm some of these numbers, because we found that people putting their payments in online would just put like the total amount under mooring, so it would like include their launch. So we're going through and we definitely have like, I asked Brian today for like the list of all the launch passes, and he came up with 68. So that's $39,100 for the just launch passes.
And the tourist seems low.
The tourist, the way we had online payments system set up, we
Yeah.
switched it. So it was also on Udapay, but then it was also on DocWa. And on DocWa, there wasn't a separate line, so everything was going under the transient doc fees. So we're ironing all of this out and reconciling it all, and we'll have updated first. So
Okay, good.
I'm meeting with the treasurer tomorrow. She has all the reports ready for us to go through. So.
I mean, we talked about it. You feel comfortable enough to say that we believe that it will be profitable. It's not gonna be a loss. But the numbers right now, we have some deeper analysis to do to really give you the specific amount.
I think that when we originally agreed to it, we were very skeptical. And so there was all this work done on the projections. Because some of it has to repay the cost of the boats. And so what we said is that we would look at it again in 2 years, 3 years, to decide whether we should continue it. And this year is troublesome based on the numbers that are currently there.
Leave it to municipal government to, you know, have an error in reconciliation that
Right.
doesn't help alleviate the skepticism.
Right.
We
I
will,
apologize for that.
we promise, we wanna make sure that we deliver the information you guys you know, wanna see and make sure that it's clear what the impact is on that service.
And the other thing is, you have a note here at the bottom, Andrea. About 116,000 for the new boats. It isn't included. Right. It's not clear to me what portion of that was for
Let's,
real boats or for our launch service boats.
yes, so that's why I haven't included it yet.
Okay.
Because we're applying for a grant from the Port Authority for the two boats. And so until we get that, I wasn't sure like exactly how much the boats were gonna cost, how much the grant was gonna cover. But I just made that note, just so we're still like,
Don't forget it.
don't forget it, yeah.
Did we appropriate that one, or is that how much
We
we're hoping to
appropriated.
get grants for?
We appropriated, that's the town match.
116.
We were gonna get 3 boats and he didn't wanna salvage any of the old ones, so we were gonna have 6 boats at the end of the year, and you know, there was some grant that was gonna pay for it all.
That's what they were applying for.
Okay.
So we have to, I mean, if we're uncomfortable with the,
Everything's in good hands, I think.
Now, you're adjourned.
if we're uncomfortable with the launch service going forward, then my question is, how does that impact the purchase of those boats? I just don't remember what, it was a lot of move around and I wasn't sure what was happening. Because we wouldn't want to go ahead and pay for a launch service boat if we're gonna determine it's not profitable.
So you think we
Right.
could maybe do a survey among the harbor people, I mean, the realization that they
it's-
might have 10 trips a year and is
Certainly.
$50 a trip worth it.
Survey doesn't matter. What matters at this point is what's actually coming in.
Yeah,
You know, people can say yes all they want,
Right.
but we went down a lot on the number of people we had doing the annual fee from last year to this year, right? Or you don't
It
know
was-
that yet?
Well, no, I do know, so last year we had 71 launch
Yeah.
passes, and this year we have 68. So not,
Not much,
Not
okay,
much.
not much difference, okay.
We'll
but
have,
if,
how long do you think till we can update these numbers? Like, how long do you think it'll take to to go through that reconciliation process?
I'm hoping actually to get through it.
Yeah,
I
be
dare say that.
Tomorrow gets really long.
Thinking about it tomorrow, for sure.
So I would say, let's put a pin in it, if that's okay, and we'll have, once you have the updated numbers, then you can really make an informed decision.
Right, exactly.
And I do want.
And I'll put it on our agenda for our November meeting.
Cause the other thing is, you can't really look, it does help with Bion's overall operations. With his dock hands and stuff, to have this service, I think there's a
Well,
whole.
let's not talk about this
Okay.
until we get to the point where we have accurate numbers
Yeah.
and see whether we feel it's even an issue.
Just can throw out one more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
For those 2 boat replacements.
Yeah.
Depending on how everything all works out, like the old Eastern might be transferred over to the
launch.
launch, backup launch, so that the launch won't have like new boats. Okay, so we'll get rid of one launch and then have that.
So we bought 2 launches from Tom.
Yeah.
What are they? And we're getting rid of one of those 2 launches? Because the engine's kaput.
Yeah, the age, the engine, the repairs, everything, so.
Which begs the question of why we buy it in the first.
Right. Package deal.
I mean, I guess at some point, I don't mean to be a wet blanket here, but if this thing doesn't work, we need to say, no, we're not gonna do launch service anymore. We're not in the business of providing launch service at a loss.
Right, and I think that's why we're waiting for the updated
Okay.
numbers to see, okay. Do
The
we have
gut
an issue
feel
or
was the
not?
harbor's too small for this type of thing.
Because last year, I don't know if you saw them, were you on here in January of 24?
No, I don't think I was.
Because Peter and Kathy Bellata worked hard on doing financial projections.
Okay.
And that's what I looked at, and this was off about $8,000 lower than what projection was.
Well, Andrea, when you have those numbers, if you can send them around before our next meeting to look at that.
Yeah.
Really curious about the Docwa numbers for transients and the revenue for launch. And I want to see this work. I drive by every single day on my way to work and I look diligently down that dock.
To see what.
And when I
what's
come,
over.
and when I come home, I look the same way. And there has been a significant absence of boats on those docks this summer. And so that's one issue, because I think that helps us figure out how much scale do we do here, up or down. And then I don't know about the staffing, the seasonal staffing for the launch, but parking spaces in front of Reed are often empty, and there's 1 or 2 people sitting there under the umbrella, and the launches are usually in the same place all the time. So, to Gar's point, I think we want to figure out, do we amp this up or do we, what do we do?
Maybe we can find somebody to buy it from us.
What's that guy's name, Tom?
Bingo.
Or a gold mine, you wouldn't have sold it.
Okay. We done with the launch for today? I'll put it on the next agenda. Next is fire department update on grants. And the chief is here
Yes.
to give us his spiel.
So we'll do the easy one first. So we were awarded the first FEMA grant for our SCBA's, which we were hoping for, because they're actually gonna time out this year. So the FEMA grant we got was for $260,000 and change, with a town match of $13,000. That will update all of our SCBA's, as well as our rapid intervention packs.
How many?
It's 22, with a spare bottle, so every piece has 3 and then you have a couple spares.
What was the grant, 260?
$260,047.61 with a town match of $13,000.
So my thought is because we did not contemplate this, we didn't budget for this when we did the budget for fiscal year 26. It seems to me that this would be an appropriate thing to pay from the FinCom reserve, rather than try to finagle it from other monies, that this is truly a new expense.
The 13K.
13, the match.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to people?
Yeah.
Okay, so can
Is
you,
that number what's required, or are we just backing it in?
No, that's a required match of $13,002.39.
So like 5%.
Yeah.
Self-contained bidding.
so do we,
I move that we take that out of reserves.
I'll second.
13 does $2.69. You second?
39 cents.
39 cents. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So you can do that paperwork and I'll sign it? Okay. something out of the way.
Second grant is, we hit the Powerball, well, you might cringe, but we hit the Powerball. So we had applied for a SAFER grant, which is basically a federal grant, which most people do. They try for it and are usually unsuccessful. This year, based upon, they look at things like amount of property protected, types of call, hazards in town, increasing infrastructures, things that are on the forecast to be built, which I think put us to the top of their list. So we got a grant to hire 4 full-time firefighters it covers for 3 years. The grant covers 25% for year 1 and 2. And I want to say 35% for year 3.
The grant only covers 25% or the town is?
No, the town, the
Okay,
grant covers 75, 75,
okay,
35.
okay.
We have to, as part of the grant, we have to maintain, go from 17 to 21 FTEs for the grant period. They understand hiring, like if we have somebody retire, they understand there's a lag time in that. But the purpose of the grant is to go from 17 and up to a minimum of 21 FTEs for the grant period. The grant would start a performance period of March of 26 to March of 29 is the performance period of the grant. So we have a 3-month or 3-month window where a 4-month window where we have to fund out of this current fiscal year, which the numbers I believe are 20. Do you have any of 25,000?
It's $24,533.
Which would be our share for this current fiscal year.
Now, that gets to the assistant fire chief.
Yep.
Can we use that position as one of them?
So we can, what I would recommend is we have a known retirement. Lieutenant Doucette has to retire in February of 27, about a year into that performance period. So what I would recommend doing is at that point in time, we go from the 22 down to the 21 FTEs. Reason I recommend that, I think it's in the best faith of the grant, and it also selfishly gives me a 1-year window to do some trials with some different things, profit revenue generating ideas I have with the department. It gives me a 1-year window to actually try it and have good numbers to report back to you and the select board.
I guess my concern is that this is, again, not something that we included in our budget, but we did include 30,000 for an assistant fire chief in the fiscal year 26 budget. It seems to me that if we can use that to be one of the, cover that cost, when we approved that, we assumed the next year we were gonna have to pay for a full year. So it seems to me like that would cover our 25%
However,
match.
right,
And you would just have an assistant fire chief and 3 firefighters under the SAFER grant.
but
Because
I
you're
have to word it a little bit differently for because the grant can't cover the assistant chief, it covers 4 firefighters. So it can be done that way, it has to be articulated in a different fashion to meet the grants.
because we were planning to have the assistant, and I thought our needs were 16. And if this grant commits us to keeping 21, is it really worth it
Well, this,
on operating over the years?
the budget with this funding for 30,000 was bringing us to 17. No, we have 17 today.
Yes,
That would bring us to 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is,
So we were anticipating going to 18. And it's also my understanding at the end of the SAFER grant, we're not required to keep those people on.
there's no requirement. Previous SAFER grants, they pay at 100% for the 3 years, but there was a requirement to maintain for a 2 or 3 year performance period after. They got rid of that.
so I can see a need maybe for more firefighters once the cell signaling comes online and there's another 500 people in town every day. But you know, I don't know if we can post, or if we do it now, it would gear up for that. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think honestly, for this is a great onboarding tool. Because it pays for them to go, their salaries to go through the academy if they gotta go through the academy, so it does ramp it up. I'm not sure what the timeline is for Salsa Union, if that's changed at all, but it would line up with that. I assume 3 years, I think phase one was 3 or 5 years out, I'm not sure if anything has changed recently, but. Kind of lines up with that.
So is the idea that, you know, so we would sort of expand under the auspices of the grant?
Yeah.
And then, once the grant period is over, the expectation is we kind of settle back to our number?
So, yes, in that period, and this is what I'm, forthcoming, during that 3-year period, my goal was to show you. Here are the revenues we were able to generate by different services, and we were able to offset some of the
So
costs.
you wanna prove out that 21 is the number?
Exactly, because operationally, it makes it so we can handle 2 medicals at a time, which are happening all the time now. And it allows us we always say that 2 and 2 out rule, we have that, and that's how we met the FEMA regulation is we'll have 4 people going to a fire every single time. So.
Just curious, 4 people, what are we talking about dollar wise here? It's about 280.
So it's our 25% for year 1 and 2 is 111. 111.
I was just thinking more like
When it's full
four people all in or.
It would be
That'd be the total
444,
amount.
444, I think it would be.
That'd be the total amount of the grant, like the grant plus our match, right? Cause that's the analysis I assume you did for the application,
Grant plus,
plus town match.
yes,
Yeah. So we costed out the cost of those 4 in order to apply.
Yep.
And then they divide that cost between the Fed match and the town match.
So the total cost. you
So
guys came
grant
up
is how
with-
much?
with the 4
Yeah,
was
you know
roughly what?
I don't know.
And keep in mind, it's March to March, so there's another element there of it's not a full fiscal year.
Right.
Right.
There's a
Yeah,
couple
for the timing
months
issue.
on that either side, yeah.
It might be a good way to see if, you know, a couple more equivalents would reduce the overtime stuff further, but
Well, I
it
think
doesn't seem, we seem to have hit our
the question
natural.
is there any other services we can provide that bring in more revenue?
That's what he's.
Right, and that's what he would need to do.
Make a difference.
So today, when we do transports,
So,
Yeah,
we can only do 1,
so year 1,
whereas we'd be able to do 2.
year
when we
1
get the
of
second
the
ambulance coming.
Yeah.
the grant program, year
How
1 of
much
the grant
does that
program,
bring in revenue or something he has?
This year.
March
Yeah.
to June.
Yeah, to February.
Cost comes out of this fiscal year.
Oh,
And
I'm thinking of
then
the sun-
July to March of next year comes out of next fiscal year.
Yep.
So it's just, it makes it a little bit
Right. So
confusing,
when
but
you
you,
get to the end and you're
you'll
down
have
to
the-
35%, it's kind of spread across.
right,
Yeah.
right, and then you have annual COLA adjustments and sort of have it on a fiscal year basis, so it's not perfect July to June.
Right.
So it's a little different of an analysis, but
I just gotta scroll
He's
through
got
the
the- he's got
PDF,
the
'cause
total
the,
amount.
And is the 3rd year our match 35%?
no,
67.
our match is 60.
65.
Hold on, the FEMA website's down because it has an unplugged symbol, so stand by, I'm scrolling through the PDF. 100 pages, yeah.
Emailed it to you too.
I did, website off pretty quick.
Ignorance. back next meeting, question it, you can refer back to what you have.
There's a shot.
Correct, you're asking for expected total funding, right?
You're looking for the cost
After
at year 4,
Oh, I see.
idea is what you're looking for,
Right, when the grant's gone.
when the grant's gone. I wanna say it was 444.
Which would be 111 per person times 4.
And that's benefit, that's salary and
Okay.
benefits, yeah.
So if we basically just sort of say 450K. And the first year is, we're dealing with 25% and 25%. And then the third year, we're 65%. From a cash flow point of view, it kind of lets us know what's going on there.
For another justification, if in addition to Lieutenant Doucette, is anyone else scheduled to like phase out that this would pay for their training for the replacement? And
There's one other, I don't have a definitive time, but I, within 2 to 3 years, basically the end of the grant. So there are gonna be some
Right. And we have
transitions
a
out.
staff of trained people.
Which I wanna say does have a positive impact on OT.
Yep.
Right, versus if we had to send someone to the academy to get trained up to backfill.
Backfill's
and then
fine,
we're
while they're-
Filling
Right.
that with OT during
Yeah.
that time.
So, yeah. Just trying to,
And having that, kind of having that, right now we're staffed with 4 group, we dropped to 3. So if somebody's out sick or on vacation, even time, same thing would happen, we'd be staffed to 5, we dropped to 4. We have that buffer, so that overtime, you shouldn't see a increase in overtime, you should maintain, because as you see in the graphs I've sent, is our overtime is, we've done very well at keeping it well below where it's been
We're
historically.
always gonna have some.
Yeah, you're not gonna get rid of it completely, we do a lot of training on duty as the groups do individual training instead of having. Twice a year, actually, today is one of them, I didn't know they had the meeting, so we scheduled our department training for today, but twice a year, the whole department gets together.
Okay,
Other than that, it's each individual training is done on group in between calls, so that helps quite a bit. And then the call department comes in, we usually do trainings Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to integrate the call department as well.
is it something we have to act on now, or is it like we can?
well, I think,
How cost benefits and look at it.
I think the question is whether he accepts the grant.
Is there a
And
deadline?
if so,
Right.
then we do have to figure out, the March to June portion of the match for the current fiscal year.
And I'm still arguing that we use that 30,000 we would budget.
The assistant chief.
So it'd be about 112,000 hit for Manchester, and that's 2 months in March, April. It's 4 months, so it's a third year. So
It's
it's about
25 and change.
30,000.
Yeah.
It's under, yeah.
I think that you could go, there's a couple different paths you could take. You could use the reserve fund, you could take the approach that you're recommending. You could also have that end of year transfer option if the chief, does find savings in his budget and needs extra funds to cover some of that match cost. You can do that through an end of year. Oh, actually, you wouldn't even need, you'd have less to ask for in an end of year transfer.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to add money to this year, to the fiscal year 26 budget for the match on the SAFER grant for the last 4 months. Now, maybe he delays hiring the assistant chief longer, Yes, Scott.
I have a question. This is a terrible question, but I'm just gonna blurt it out. What if we didn't get this grant? Would we have a problem with our staffing? Or are we staffing because we got the grant? I know that's.
No, I think
Terrible thing to
I think
say.
that's an honest thing. I think that the call volume or request for service have steadily been rising. We see how do I say this politically correct? The new generation is more reliant on assistance from different agencies for a variety of things, which the fire department's no different. And then we also have things like CST and other potential things that, you know, we should be forward thinking and not knee jerk. And I think this is a great way of kind of merging those two idea processes through.
But are we had to, let me just be a little more obnoxious.
No, that's all right.
If you boiled it down between emergencies, hey, my 4-year-old's up on the 3rd floor and the flames are coming up the stairs.
Yep.
That's a hell of an emergency.
Yep.
Or I feel faint. I don't know, maybe that's an emergency too. I mean.
So we can, so what I do is, and one of the things I always, you know, make a comment in the reports is important. A lot of departments, they put a car seat, they count that as a run. We don't do that. So when I say we do 1,200 runs, that is 1,200 emergency responses.
Okay.
In addition, we do inspections, car seats, permitting,
Okay.
things like that. So other departments in the area, every single time they do anything, they
It's a
count
run.
as run. I don't do that because I don't think that's
Good.
not marketing ourselves in the. correct
Well,
fashion.
the other thing is, when you have a good department, people are more likely to call them. So unfortunately, we got a pretty,
So is that
we got a pretty good department.
Is that a for or against?
Yeah, okay, thanks.
So
That's-
one question I would just ask is, what do you think could go wrong with this? Because I think every time we get involved with things like this, we want it to go right, but we also need to just sort of say, what's the backside risk? And the only thing I can think of is that if you have, for some reason, a lot of people resign from the department and you're having a really hard time hiring.
Yeah.
So your numbers go way down. Is the state gonna come in and push on us hard and say, whoa, you gotta get that number to 21 and we're doing it through OT or something? But
Getting a call right now.
Well, there's two going on now. So.
Two at the same time, this is a perfect.
Wait.
Perfect example.
No, we have training tonight, so it's actually, there's plenty of people to do it. So I think the things that can go wrong, like for that example you gave, as long as we're in process and we show we're trying to hire, we're doing interviews, assessment centers, things like that, they're totally fine as long as we're in good faith trying to maintain that. I think, you know, if we said, oh, all of a sudden, nope, year 3, I think then that's a more of a legal thing. You know, I think that these additional 4, that's where the department, unless we have some type of 70-story high rise end up downtown, don't anybody listen, I think that's gonna happen, then maybe we would need more, but this puts us for good for now and anything that we would need in the future.
And if there's a delay in hiring these people, then that means the grant would cover less and we would pay less of a match?
Yes, but
Okay.
the idea is, on the flip side, they'd rather us hire now and have it, the performance period go from January, let's say, of 26 to January of 29. Would have to request an extension to be granted if we didn't hire before March, I think it's 14th or 15th.
No, I'm thinking as time goes on and people leave. So you're in the grant period.
Yeah.
You have your 21.
Yeah.
Now 2 people have left,
As long as we're in process, they understand that.
but do
That's-
they keep paying the grant or do they cut back on the grant because you're
No.
minus the people?
No, because you actually, the 4 people you hire as part of the grant are those 4 people. So if Joe Smith gets hired for the grant, that's what they're funding Joe Smith. Now, if he resigns and goes to
Yeah.
Gloucester, then we have to submit that Joe Smith has now been replaced with John Smith, and they're funding that name, not the position.
It's not the department, it's the individual.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I, furthering Maury's thought on what are the risks. Could accepting the state grant funnel more calls from the state dispatch to us, and do we win or lose money on these ambulance calls, you know? So if they're funding us firefighters, they go, oh, let's let's have Manchester go
I
there.
don't think they should.
So the funds is coming from the federal government. With the additional, right now, we do backup ALS services, let's say to Essex.
Right.
So if our ambulance is tied up and Essex needs paramedics, we currently can send a fly car, but then we don't have the ability basically to bill for that.
Right.
If we transport and the person's in our ambulance, we actually bill for that transport
Right.
based upon the acuity of the call. So there's different
Yeah, I
levels
know,
of transports, but.
not sure it's worth it to do out of town calls, other than
Well, we have. no
our
choice.
our traditional.
So the mutual aid is
mutual
we
aid,
don't have,
yes.
it's a state law, so we
Right,
can't,
no, I
you
get
know,
that.
they call, we have to go.
Right.
So we don't, that's not,
This is what we
policies
start
and
getting more volume.
So what's our sense?
Well, it sounds like there's, I mean, before there was a downside because then there was a stipulation that you had to keep that staffing. For
Right.
so many years after the grant expired. Now we don't have that. And further to that, I guess I would support, you know, your thought of trying to use that intervening time to identify revenue opportunities that you think could then sustain that. And it has a rationale in that it gets you to that more ideal staffing level that we've forever talked about. So I'm supporting it.
I think it's generally a good idea. I mean, if you look at over 3 years, the town costs about $500,000 split out over 3 years. It sounds like there's some flexibility. So if we have people leaving and you're trying to hire, we're not pinned down. You can see how it goes and adjust year to year as we, we get to the end of year 3 and it's going great, super, or if it's not, we adjust.
I'm willing to move that we recommend accepting this to the select board.
You in agreement, Carl?
Yep.
Okay, I guess. We support it.
Yep.
Yeah, let's-
Totally betting all the risks and.
Let me write that down.
Blame it on us.
So was that an actual motion? Did you want to vote on it or?
I would wonder if
Sounds
this would
like
need to
we
be a
all do.
motion or.
So we're making a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. Is that how this is
Yes.
effectively going?
That's how I,
So let's,
Let's
do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we go forward with the recommendation, the acceptance of the SAFER grant for a 3-year period based on the information received. Yeah, that's it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Take a vote. Dean?
Yeah.
Gar?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Sarah says yes. Okay. So that's our formal vote.
thank you. I would just have to keep the fire station from flooding.
Okay. And that's it for your grants, chief?
Yep, I was just actually looking at your agenda, I don't think.
No,
That's
I
right.
think I tried to put you towards the beginning.
Well, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yep,
much.
you're welcome.
Go to your little calls. Next item on the agenda is, does the finance director have any update on any other pending grants?
So I do have some pending grants. 2 of them are with the SEC, the Seaport Economic Council. One is for the fisherman's facility, which is $453,000, and another one is for the rotunda and like replacement of the pier at Tux Point for $2.4 million.
And where does that come from?
Those
That's not also from the same.
Seaport.
Seaport.
Economic Council.
Council.
So somehow they were able to grant more than 1 million to one project.
Has it been,
No, we're, those
We
are
just applied.
applied.
Yeah,
Okay,
applied, but not awarded
okay.
yet.
Andrea, what is the rotunda? I think we know about because we've been talking about that for a couple of years. What is the Seaport facility one encompass, or what's
The
that?
commercial fishing.
Yes, it's a fisherman's facility,
Yep.
over at the park.
So essentially it's docks and
It's like. I should have Brian here to speak about it, but it's like, it's the facility that the fishermen can come and they can hook up, they can, I believe it provides electricity and whatnot.
Wasn't that the one
Boat
adding floats between
Yeah.
Morse Pier and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
boat, yeah. I thought the planning board had dropped that one and he was going for it just along the railroad track. Apparently he's,
That's not for commercial fishermen, that's something
no, I know.
else. That's a
That's the one
transient
that was going through the planning board. This one was
planning board.
on back burner for so long, so now all of a sudden,
Well, the commercial fisherman is the one that we recommended against many years ago.
so I'm just sort of curious, again, grants are great, but you know, you win them and then you find yourself in a place that maybe you didn't originally intend to be in. Like, you know, Singing Beach years ago and Rip Rap Wall, so I just want to make sure we really understand what our commitment is here. And, you know, if it's docks so that fishermen can get to boats and more easily maintain their profession longer, I'm totally for that. If it's building infrastructure with electricity and laundry and other stuff, because it'll benefit a few fishermen, but it'll do something else, I'm not in favor of that. And this is where personally, I'm like, what are we voting on or what are we recommending? And so I think clarity of the grant is important.
So I have the grant application for the fisherman's facility. And
I-
that's. I'm not sure. Let's check on that. So the project proposes the installation of a floating dock system and structural repairs to an existing municipal facility. The project will provide the town with an economical and practical approach to achieving both short and long-term resiliency, since the gangway system and floats can be readily modified and reused to accommodate sea level rise climate change concerns. The floating dock system will rise and lower with the natural ebb and flow of the tides within the harbor. Proposed piles are designed to keep the float system secure during typical tides and storm events. The expected life of the facility is 50 years.
15,
50.
years.
That's typically the window they're looking at sea level rise for permitting. I'll just go slow.
The project will serve the commercial fishing fleet and will provide a walkable connection between Masconomo and Reed Parks for the public to enjoy. The project meets the town's goals to alleviate congestion and navigational hazards in the harbor, provide the commercial and recreational community with improved access to navigable waters, and support the town's blue economy. The project will benefit the town long term.
So that sounds
So it's
like
just-
predominantly floats, gangways, stuff that's stuck in the mud and the water, which is, I think, fine. As an observation, and I have sent a number of pictures to Bion, on low tides in front of Captain Dusty's, you probably see the
the
steam,
Blue Heron.
it flats out. So, you know, this walkway from Morse Pier to Reed Park will essentially be on floats that are sitting on dry land. And that's one thing, but if it involves dredging in there, that's kind of a different deal. So again, I hate to be a stickler on this, but all these little pieces get kind of connected together and
I don't know why they didn't trench that when they did the other dredging.
A lot of the feedback though was to keep that open. This is a department out of control. I'm ready to. Pick more. Oh, we hit the new harbor.
I
Mike.
thought they actually did dredge in there, because I went down one night and watched on
sorry.
Morse Pier.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
know, this-
department
Bringing
out of
bicycles
control.
up.
I really don't feel comfortable with a finance committee member making that type of statement with the harbor master not present in a public meeting. That's your opinion.
Yeah. And I'm entitled to.
You are entitled to it, but it's not exactly fair to make that type of statement in a public meeting without him here.
It's not
I'm
fair for
gonna
this
speak up,
dodge
I'm
and
gonna speak
burying.
up for my harbor master
You
in the
can,
department,
you can. You can.
sorry.
It's also not a finance committee issue,
No, no,
so it should not be discussed in a finance committee meeting.
okay.
Okay, any other
Well,
grants?
this,
Oh.
so the grant is for 470,
Granted yet?
or it's the application for grant is 470, that's for engineering.
453,000 for the installation of docks.
Okay. And that installs, does that, has there been some thought about the maintenance of those and if they get pulled out in the winter and how do we, is that like DPW?
I don't think we need to discuss that. I think what I asked Andrea was for an update of the various grants.
Okay.
Not for us to ask for an explanation
Okay,
of each grant.
I'm just,
I mean-
again, I'm going back to like CPC on Kroll Chapel, where we
Yep.
did lots of roof work and then we found out that each year we needed to have people on the roofs to maintain, so. Just the long-term maintenance is something I think we should just keep an eye on.
Right.
And on Tony's suggestion, maybe we could have Bion come in next meeting. As an agenda. item.
I think that's more appropriate when we get to the budget.
A few other grant updates. We did receive a rural development fund grant for fiscal year 26 at $110,000. The town originally applied for 135. This is for review of the general zoning district, including the downtown area. Looking at opportunities for additional housing, climate resiliency, enhancing the commercial viability of downtown corridor. Essentially, the ability to hire a consultant to help work with the planning board and the downtown improvement committee to look at some zoning improvements and also conceptual streetscape designs. The police department also got a JAG grant. I forget how much that was for.
I know it was up to $40,000.
40,000, and that's,
So it was under that.
and that is to purchase software that it's called Blue Voice. It allows, no, go ahead.
It's for 2 e-bikes and 1 UTV. And then the Maya grant is for the Blue Voice.
I'm sorry, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
yes, yeah. The Maya grant was for the Blue Voice, which is a software program that it's like AI system that our officers can look up real time instantly laws, regulations, things that really kind of adjusting to the current environment that they deal with. And then there's also the JAG grant for what Andrew was just speaking to.
Is this a second ATV vehicle or replacing one?
UTV, so a whole different breed.
Oh, okay.
Not to be snippy or
They're bigger.
I've never
Yeah, they're
understood
bigger
the
and they have-
difference between them.
What's
The UTV has like a larger like
flatbed?
flatbed thing,
Kind
so
of
like
what the fire department has
Yeah.
for forestry.
a utility vehicle, like an all-terrain.
Mhm.
So it helps like they need it for, they've had so many more calls for like people lost in the woods, injured in the woods, you have a lot of trails here, trying to get access to them, things like that.
What? On the rural development grant,
Yeah.
would they be able to look at, like some kind of congestion improvement downtown, which I see as the main restriction for the whole mess down there, but
I would
a
imagine
third corridor or maybe some kind of bypass, because so much traffic, I mean, the beach is the main generator of tourism or incoming people. And they all have to go through that corridor.
Yeah, but we did have a traffic study,
Yeah,
and the traffic study was, it wasn't bad. So
that was for
there are not cars
Pleasant
back,
Street, School Street.
there's not cars backed up in downtown. I'm sorry. I walk through there every day and there's not cars back there.
Well, the week,
Well, I would say, you know, as the planning board or the downtown improvement committee starts to talk about the scope
right,
of the consultant that's gonna be paid for through the grant, that would be the time to talk to them about, you know, what type of things we wanna make sure is included in that. And then we are also, this is kind of really fresh. The town, we are an MVP community, municipal vulnerability preparedness. The town was designated many years ago. The state has transitioned into MVP 2.0. We're required to apply for that actually this year in order to maintain our status. Being an MVP community allows you to apply for action grants on an annual basis, really. Rockport and Gloucester are also required at this time to apply. So we're talking about a regional application for a planning grant to maintain as the three communities our MVP status. And the regional approach is really beneficial because this 2.0 element does have a heavy emphasis on environmental justice communities, which obviously we don't have a ton here, but bringing in Gloucester really helps us out. There's also a action grant under MVP that will be applying for soon after the new year. If we were to apply for that grant as a single community, first of all, in order to be eligible to apply that, we have to show that we're applying for the planning grant to be a 2.0 community. The grant max for a single community is $3 million on an action grant. Regional is 5. So we're also talking with Gloucester, Rockport, and Essex because of the school system about applying for $5 million action grant through MVP for the Central Street culvert as a backup if BRIC doesn't get extended. And the regional application to that, or the angle we're gonna really push, is the main conduit for electricity supply to Cape Ann goes through the culvert. So
right,
Correct.
yeah, so with BRIC kind of unknown as to whether it's gonna be extended or not, we really wanna start looking at backup funding opportunities, and this seems to be one of the only that is available to us. And our gap, our BRIC funding is 4.2, 4 point,
More than that.
maybe 4.7.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Right.
So, you know, that $5 million amount would cover that.
And then we have another grant for the culvert.
We
Is
have
that-
NOAA, we have a NOAA grant,
Yeah, is that
and we
safe?
have a MassDOT grant as well, actually.
Are those safe?
Those are safe. The NOAA grant, actually, since it's federal, could be used as match towards the MVP. So there's a benefit there too. So we're gonna try and make that effort. We're hopefully submitting our expression of interest next week. And then, you know, working with the other communities to put together an application for early in the new year.
So that's something that would be, when would that be granted? How long does it take once you apply?
Probably summertime, we can find out. It's usually a 3-4 month process.
So your sense is, if we take that approach, then we wouldn't need to fund anything for the culvert in the fiscal year 27 capital budget.
Well, I think we won't know
Right.
about whether BRIC's getting extended or whether we're getting the MVP grant until after town meeting. So we may still want to consider that, you know, as a capital item, as a third backup plan.
Have we worked through 91A situation.
We're working through it right now. With
This is
DEC.
permitting.
I mean, I don't see any issue with us getting the permit. It's just the timing has been
Right.
delayed because of the appeal. So we're moving forward. with the
Any of the
process.
existing grants sunset out here at the moment, or is it all, we have kind of a long window on all, so we're just trying to.
Only the brick is the one that I'm aware of or worried about.
Now, Healy said that that had been pulled.
Yeah, there's technically it's not pulled, it just expires April 27th.
But no, she said that the federal government had pulled back. And it included the 4.7 or 4.8 for Manchester for the culvert.
And
No.
it's not really accurate.
Right.
Okay,
Recently, I heard the federal courts. They lost the lawsuit, the president lost the lawsuit, and they had to restore the funding.
Okay.
That was already approved. So, but I don't know how that trickles to brick, but one thought on the electric services, I looked at that bridge in 2016 and it wasn't so bad. And since they put that main line in, I've seen a lot of cracks opening up. And I don't know if we can get them to help fund any part of repairing it.
National Grid?
Yeah, well, whoever put that line,
Right.
you know, that does mess up masonry arches when you put a trench in the fill like that.
I
I
think,
don't know
yeah, I
if they'll
think
help.
we'll obviously lean on that.
A little bit.
If and when we get there.
Yeah, it's a trump card, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah. The other
We'll
trump,
try to lean on that as hard as we can.
the other thing I was thinking about, the channel behind there is, rather than have a swamp, it might behoove us to have, you know, the guy that wants all the commercial stuff, put a parking lot there and just extend the
I
channel.
think that's
Like-
really not for us to discuss in a finance committee meeting.
Okay.
All we're talking about right now is the application for a possible grant, not the actual project itself. I don't want us
The planning grant
designing
for,
projects.
the planning grant for 2.0. We will get that.
Yeah.
Once we apply. That's a 2-year process. 3 phases, 2 phases in year 1. Phase 3 in year 2. You know, I think that the regional approach makes a lot of sense for us. And the fact that applying for it makes us eligible for the action grant, as it really makes a lot of sense. Standalone, you know, if we were just doing 2.0 on our own, I would debate whether it's worth us moving forward, maintaining our MVP status. But given the need for a backup plan on the culvert and the idea of this regional approach, changes my perspective on that.
And you feel that with these other towns involved, we'll get our fair share?
I do, I talked to them, and I also asked MVP, we had a meeting with our regional rep there. There's no negative impact to the other communities signing on to this regional approach. They can still apply for action grants on their own.
Okay.
They don't have to put up funds of their own. There may be some in-kind services for public education, things like that. But the grant will really pay for that, so it's, and I talked with Essex, Rockport, and Gloucester already, just planting the seed, and they all responded positively on it, so.
Okay.
And I just think that the state is, even though maybe inaccurately aware of our situation, I'm hoping that they see our expression and say, here's a great opportunity for the state to come in and be the hero.
Yeah.
So,
Anything else?
It's a little off topic, but
Uh-oh,
are we worried about this thing failing? Because we've been talking about that for a while. And my mother keeps asking, oh, when is the culvert gonna happen? And she actually brought up a really interesting point. She said, you know, on Harbor Street, when you go over the bridge, there's a sign there that says trucks of this weight not allowed over the bridge. I just bring this up. If we are like the camel's back here, is there anybody looking at this, or is there anything we should be doing in anticipation of?
To prevent a failure.
Yeah, I mean, if great big huge gas truck is going to Seabreeze to fill up their tanks, maybe we should have them go down School Street. I mean, I don't know, this is all your department, but
I would have to
stuff like
talk with
that, I
Chuck.
think is
Yeah,
worth
I'd have to
taking a
talk
look
with
at
Chuck about that and see if we're all right. We may be doing that stuff. Oh,
already.
Those
Chuck
masonry
online,
arches and
is that the Chuck?
MassDOT inspects every year.
Okay,
So I think honestly, the bigger concern is for me as a Ryle side resident in Beverly.
Oh,
yeah,
Is that MassDOT inspects and shuts it down.
Okay.
Before a
Problem
failure,
happens.
and then you're dealing with a long-term closure.
Right.
Off
I'm
schedule.
dealing with this in Ryle side, with the Hall Whitaker Bridge. And that would be an even bigger impact to downtown and the abutting properties, and so we wanna try and get ahead of it before that happens.
They shut
I hadn't even thought
one oh
about
seven
that.
today.
I was thinking, like, a structure.
Yeah,
That's my backup.
it's frustrating that there's been no maintenance on it for 10 years. The biggest thing that's frustrating, because that's what it needs. Very fast.
Okay. Next is preliminary fiscal year 26 capital request. Were you able to pull that together or not, Andrea?
yeah, so we've asked department heads to submit their capital requests.
Yep.
They came in last week. Andrea and I have just touched the surface. I think that I'd like to have kind of a general discussion about it and also kind of process that you want to follow, because since I'm new, I want to make sure that I follow what you guys are comfortable with and what the select board's comfortable with. But I have not gone through this in detail, even with Andrea or with department heads on an individual basis, to a point where I feel like comfortable kind of putting everything out there as to what's been requested.
So,
Um,
so last year, we did look at capital during the fall, right? So I'm wondering if maybe we could look at capital at our November meeting. Would that give you
I
enough
think-
time
yeah,
to
that'd be great. That'd be
to
great.
just kind of understand and to kind of talk a little bit about financing, you know, opportunities and just kind of where we stand and just not as a final number, just as to
Yeah.
a starting point of saying, okay, do we have to whittle
I have
things down?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. We can still introduce some of the topics that you can be ready for in
Yeah.
November.
Okay,
PFAS is the largest
Yep.
number that we're looking at. We're required to meet standards
Right.
by
27. I think.
27, I think, or 28. You know, that's a $12 million number.
Yep.
We could, you could run the risk of pushing it off and hoping that the feds change their standards and the state coincides with that and timelines get pushed out, but that's very risky.
Well, and I'm not sure there's the appetite in town
Yeah.
to delay it.
Great,
That's my sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
What
No,
I'm
that's-
saying is that
Um,
if PFAS are dangerous, then I
Yeah.
think people are kind of saying we should be fixing our problem.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a large number compared to what we've put before the voters in the past. And that these types, this large number. The way I look at the upcoming next, 5 to 10 years, these large numbers are gonna continue to surface year after year.
Well,
And I think we need to, generally, I wanna kind of get some guidance from the finance committee and the select board. As to how we want to approach these things, so that Andrea and I can come forward with some recommendations. Is it debt exclusion on an annual basis? Is it borrowing? How are we going to, it sounded like what you were talking about earlier, that the general sense from the community has been, ask us when you need it and we're willing to provide, rather than storing, in a capital fund or something, this capital stabilization type fund. So it's.
and I think last year we worked on a 25-year plan of laying out all of the capital amounts. And it was done we didn't spend a lot of time on it, but Greg had laid it out in a way where no one year would have a huge hit on the tax rate. I think there were a couple of years at the beginning where there was a hit, but then, so I think we need to look at that again too, and I'm sure things have changed. But if we just look at that and where that was coming from, because I think that part of what we were trying to do is replace rolled off debt. So when 32 school comes off, so I think that there,
Always maintain.
that I think that we felt there was some opportunity to not increase substantially the amount of debt, that we were able to replace what was rolling off. And we've been using cash capital exclusions to kind of fill in that void where debt has gone down. And so that we then would have that, I think it's 660 in capital exclusion money, which is 2% on the tax rate, which could go towards debt. Which might help some on those
It's
capital
good
projects.
to have it in there, because you can keep rolling it over and it's not an increase.
Right, yeah,
So I think what we gotta do is
yeah,
take a closer look, because the timing doesn't perfectly line up to when that debt rolls off compared to the needs and some of the requirements that are in front of us.
right.
And if we borrow between now and then, that debt service is going to grow, opposite of what has been happening in the past where it's been decreasing. So it's gonna create, without, going the exclusion route, it'll create additional burden on the general.
Well, and I think that's what this 25-year plan did,
Yeah.
is I think that it was like 1.5%, I think, increase in 1 or 2 years, and then it would level off.
As you said, Sarah, I mean, there was a lot that you could probably poke holes in that 25-year model, but it was at least kind of laying stuff out. And I think it'd be useful to sort of resurrect that
Juggle it,
and refine it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think this plan is really important, and it's not cast in stone, but rough numbers, 25 years, we're looking at close to 200 million. And the big ticket items on there, of course, Essex Elementary, PFAS, hardening the septic treatment plant down here, discussions about DPW building and maybe fire station and public safety. So, when you add those things together right there, you're north of 100 million. So I think waiting for something to pop up and bringing it to the voters, I think we really need to look at that 25-year plan and say, okay, maybe this project needs to actually wait 4 years. It's a need, but it just got to slip because taxpayers aren't going to want to have this hit now. So that's, I think, the long look. It's not cast in stone, but we do need a sense of when are we going to try and do this? When are we going to try and do that? I think we can fit it all together. It's just, we got to be
The order.
systematic
The
and
order.
clever about it.
Yeah, so and Exactly, and that's kind of the guidance I'm looking for as to what you all know the community far better than I do at this point. And so understanding, what the approach should be and kind of looking further out because if we're talking about 15 million in capital this year. And then next year, we're talking about another large amount, and the next year, another large amount. Eventually, the taxpayers are gonna say, wait a minute.
But that's not what
Yeah.
we did in our plan. I mean,
Right.
we had it spread out in a way that it wasn't.
The plan was really
Why don't-
good,
why don't
and
we-
with the one exception of, I don't think it had dredging in it. The dredging was kind of like, oh, harbor fees will cover that. But that's like 7 million every 8 years or something like that, or 10 or 12 years. So it wasn't a huge error bar. But the layout of it was, we can pull it up.
It was the
but it
facility
was really good.
Is that
financing
what
plan.
printed, Andrea?
Yeah, the facility financing plan, the last one I have is version 4 from 3/3/25.
Yeah, the last
Yep.
one I was to
Want me to
One
send
printed
this to
here, I
you?
think says version
Okay.
2.
I've got version 4.
Okay.
So the way I see it is, we did that $7.5 million bond 2 years ago. That was no opposition. We
Just
had
take paper.
earmarked things for it, and I don't think we're through it all yet. In fact, it's probably halfway, but so it hasn't all hit the tax rate, but the project and the funding, it seemed to be well received.
Mhm.
So, I'm thinking every other year, we're probably gonna have to start doubling the bond. So I'm thinking we're gonna have to
I
bond.
think we need to go back and look at this plan that we worked on last year.
Right, well, I think,
Instead of,
okay, I think
And
that's what's
see-
in the plan, but yes.
where we need to tweak it and I'll send this version 4
Yes.
to Andrea.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll discuss this in November.
Do you want?
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Do you want?
Trigger plans like, when this is school project in Essex, they did and have we rolled off debt for the high school. So we're not trying to cover 3 schools simultaneously.
right, so that's an adjustment we have to make, I think, in the plan because the elementary school process seems to be coming in sooner than what was expected, probably when.
What was hoped.
So that's what I'm saying, is like that
Right, that's-
visual approach of waiting for that high school debt to come off.
Right.
That timeline isn't exactly, that needs to be adjusted, I think. And how that impacts our capital planning on an annual basis is where I'm hoping we can have that discussion, so I can have a better feel for what, to bring forward. So PFAS is definitely one of the big items that was requested. Dredging is an item on there as well. And design for the DPW or public safety facility is likely something on there as well. We have about 800 something thousand currently that can go towards that design, but expect design to cost somewhere around 1.5 or maybe a little bit more. So we figure out what that amount is. I don't know I wouldn't say that necessarily we would be designing in the upcoming fiscal year. We have a long way to go. But I think it'd be appropriate to ask for the authority come springtime, so that if we can get into that phase in the next fiscal year, we have it.
And I think that's what we need to discuss, because one of our sore points is the DPW is always asking for money in advance. And we don't want to be funding in our tax rate something that maybe we'll get to. That if we're not gonna be ready to do the design, then we should wait a year.
Have we determined where that would be built?
No, so there's been analysis for looking at the current site, and then there's the facility planning committee, which is now in process. We're also looking at the site, the old compost site.
Yeah.
You know, there's trade-offs. So we're hoping that we get to direction as to which site we're gonna, look at.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna take us until July of next year to make that decision, but I don't think we'll have the decision by April of town meeting, so that's why I think getting the authority, not necessarily borrowing, the funds or creating debt service, but just getting the authority approved so that if we are ready, we can then move forward. Instead of having to call for a special or waiting till the next town meeting.
So what it sounds like a little bit is that maybe we need to get the planning board involved in updating the master plan to try to sort out,
Planning board,
why isn't it?
the zoning,
Okay, well, who's
We
doing the master?
we
plan?
have the facilities committee,
Okay,
which is supposed to be determining when these projects are coming online. Okay, and I think that we can,
but this is like master plan stuff that it seems like we're rethinking, doesn't it?
I think we can discuss this in November.
Yeah.
I think this meeting's going on long enough. I think we need to look back at Chuck, do you have something quick to contribute?
Yeah, I'll just give it 2 quick seconds. The master plan does talk about these facilities, so that's already in there. And the facility master plan talks about these facilities. And so these are the plans that we are following that have been approved and been presented to everybody. That's all.
Thank you.
And then just a couple other items I just want to highlight. So we are applying for the SEC grant for the rotunda. We should know about that in the next month or two.
Oh, good.
Um,
That's ready, that project's ready to go, is that correct?
the rotunda is ready to
Yeah,
go.
okay.
There's the other projects of similar nature that we have a couple more permitting elements to go through, and ideally you do all projects at the same time for cost savings. Which is the I write it down here. Chuck, what's the other project that we're hoping to combine with the rotunda?
So there's Morris Pier floats, Reed Park floats, and the rotunda. I'm not sure. You mean just the walkway type stuff out to the rotunda, but that's all part of it.
Anyways, thank you, thanks Chuck. If we don't receive the grant, we may want to apply to CPC for, they can bond through CPC, so we could take that route on that. Hopefully if we get the grant, we don't have to go that road. And then there's the culvert that we talked about. So those are some of the big ticket items. Obviously, there's much more capital, but don't really trigger the need for a borrowing discussion, hopefully, or a debt exclusion discussion.
Well, I think there is concern about Tappan, Bennett and Beach Streets. We might want to consider those in the bond as well.
Let us wait and discuss capital at our November meeting.
Yeah, not to say that those
Please.
aren't, just so you know, that not to say those aren't
Right.
on the table.
Yeah.
They just don't, I was just highlighting some of the larger
Bigger ones.
borrowing type or debt exclusion type discussions.
Do you have any other financial updates for us, Tony?
No,
No.
no, next. Just the budget timeline and meeting dates. I was just gonna get into that discussion next.
Okay. So that's next on the agenda, the fiscal year 26 budget timeline and meeting dates.
So we'll be asking for operating requests. in the next week or two, hopefully getting those back in early November. If possible, we'll be able to provide some sort of update on that at the November meeting as well. I just wanted to, this was, as we talk about timeline and meeting dates, this is what we had put together when there was chance of a special town meeting coming up. So this is an example of something that we'll put together for you to just kind of highlight. The important dates that we need to keep in mind as far as the process from start to finish. And the first page is working back from town meeting date. And then if you flip it over, you get it in the chronological order. So we'll put something like this together for you as we plan out. Andrea and I are gonna plan out, all of these specific key times for, things that are required for a town meeting, and then also layering in here your schedule, and if there's any zoning, how planning board might factor into that too.
Yeah, one of the things I would ask is that it's something we haven't done a good job on in the past. And that is to take into consideration the due date that the FinCom report has to get to the printer and to have cutoff deadlines for every decision to be made regarding the budget at least 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before that.
Exactly.
Because what's been happening is last minute, and it puts an enormous amount of pressure on us because it changes all of the numbers. And it's not just, it's not just the select board approving the budget, it's the school presenting us with the budget to be approved. Because last year they were very late, and last year there were a lot of stuff that came in late. I don't remember what it was, but aren't I right, Ann?
Always right.
No, there's a lot of proofreading and a lot of holes and gaps that
Yeah.
literally were filled in the last like 18 hours before going to press.
Right,
I'm not sure we even were able to see some of the graphs and stuff, because those were probably created like absolute
right.
minutes before the PDF sent.
And because I want
Yeah.
to be able to get it to Andrea
Yeah.
more than one day before the printing date. Right,
So-
Andrea?
That,
I'm used to a May town meeting and the FinCom, meeting with the FinCom to talk about some of these things wouldn't happen until January. And it would be an extremely intense, stressful process of getting through everything. So this is great that we're already starting this process. And yeah, what I would do typically for them is backdate from the date that the report's gotta go to the printer,
Right, yeah,
which includes the timeline for them to print and deliver.
right.
We had to deliver to households. We don't have to do that here.
Yes, we do.
We do.
FinCom report has to go to households.
Okay.
And it used to be done by the Boy Scouts, and it doesn't anymore, so it's done via US
Okay,
mail, which
Right,
adds a
so-
little bit of time.
so, yeah, and budget.
Yeah,
And depending on what the general bylaw says as to what exactly you have to include in that, there's. To save some costs, we could do, what's required, and then push people through QR code to go to the website for more information. If you wanna limit how many pages are in that
We-
report. I'm not gonna
FinCom,
talk about
the
that.
FinCom annual report includes the warrant, and that's what we tell people to bring to town meeting.
Yeah,
And it's long,
yeah,
but
there could be ways to,
we don't have a good result sending people via QR codes.
no, and I think
When
this is a
35%
great
are
tool.
over
It's a
65.
great
yeah.
tool to get people educated on what is coming before them at town meeting.
And to refer to it when you're speaking at town meetings, so you don't have to reiterate those stuff. You only have 2 minutes.
You're selling your life away or what? It's
We
a
also
bunch of
did,
line.
Leading up to town meeting, I would hold a few informational sessions. plan to do that here as well for those who want to get some information or ask questions before they go to town meeting. And one of the adjustments I have to make too here is I am trained that I bring my recommended budget to the select board for approval first before going to the finance committee. The tradition here is that it goes to the finance committee and then the select board. I did see in last year's process that provided for some last minute, unknowns at the select board level. So I'm gonna try to find a hybrid approach of making sure that the select board is informed and okaying the things that I'm recommending and bringing to you so that it's not a surprise to them at the end of the process causing delay. So I'm gonna try and figure out a better
Right,
way
yep.
to do that as well. When I can get this from you another time, but you meet on a monthly basis from now until a certain point, and then I assume you meet a little bit more often.
Starting right after the new year, weekly, and it's going to be Thursdays. I think we've agreed to be Thursdays.
Okay, so I'll include that.
And so we schedule weekly meetings. And the first meeting, we kind of go through the budget and kind of determine on what dates we're gonna do each segment, so people can be prepared.
Like police, a night for fire, a
Yep.
night for DPW.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Police and harbor master together. The challenge
Right.
is the school. They kind of run on
They've
their
been
own
pushing
conveyor
their
belt.
dates later.
And they don't often reveal the final information, although we have a pretty good heads up on it, until the school committee votes. And then it goes to both towns and that pushes out on the printing date. That becomes a little bit of a challenge, but
Well,
being aware of that ahead of time helps know.
Last year, they did,
Understood.
as far as I'm concerned, they did not follow the dates that are in the agreement. They have a date by which they have to have the final budget, and they did not complete it by that.
I'll take a look at that.
Yeah.
They did, but Essex didn't accept it. So
No.
Let's go back. It wasn't so-
The final vote,
If
right?
big budget items like school and stuff like that are printed in
The
this book.
dates
Mhm.
in the agreement are based on our having a town
Yeah.
meeting.
When you go to.
Early in
meeting, This is.
But-
non-town
And they-
meeting or whatever it is.
The agreement wasn't changed.
If you're doing anything out of the ordinary, it's.
Um,
It's not
in
gonna-
their
it's gonna be-
defense, they brought
Getting
the
stuff in-
um health insurance down
As everybody's looked at it,
Right.
it's kind of checked
a
out.
lot
Right.
in the last few weeks.
Right.
And yes, we could have gone with the old number and
I know, it's a challenge.
So I'll take a look at that
Yeah.
agreement, and then. Ann's introducing me to the superintendent over there and the school committee and, it'll be something I can
got a
approach.
number crunching.
1024, right?
That's a very early start on what can be done with the budget.
Just look at the minutes for that date.
It was 10:30, but
8:30.
Hmm.
It's 8:30.
8:30 in the morning.
I think that was one of the 8:30 days.
Yeah, you know, it's an 8:30, but the date is,
Different day.
I think the date.
It's that third day before Halloween,
Yeah.
first 50 hours.
1024 is the day before Halloween. I don't,
What's next? We also have, under that same time, we have some contract negotiations that are coming due at the end of this year. So we'll have to be mindful about how we fill in those numbers.
right,
And then there's other stuff, like the Harbor Advisory Committee has been talking about whether that we should explore an enterprise account. when we have those discussions and how that factors into the other things that we may be considering for a Springtown meeting or things we'll wanna lump in and make time for.
Can you let us know what contract negotiations are coming up?
It's three unions.
Yeah.
Fire, clerical, not police,
It's everything but police.
I think,
Right.
Okay.
right?
Yeah, DPW, clerical and fire.
Mhm.
I believe that's one more year.
Let's think about that. That all starts around January.
Yeah, hopefully sooner.
Okay. Andy wants me to move along.
Okay.
We all do.
Next up is Andy, just giving us an update on the Facilities Planning Committee and the School Building Committee.
Sure, so,
We've had a few meetings that Chuck and Nate have pulled together, and some of those have been field trips where we went to look at the Essex Public Safety Building, and there were a couple that I couldn't go to, Rockport DPW and Newburyport DPW. Just trying to give the group a flavor for what's happening on
other municipal projects, and then we've also talked about, I think there was a field trip out to the School Street site. And so we're kind of getting closer to having more substantive conversations about what those options are. And along the way, just kind of considering other sites, obviously the existing DPW site, still hasn't been decided what the plan is there. We have had discussions about all these things in relation to the master plan that had been conducted. So how does all that stuff look? And along the way, there's also other discussions about other assets in town and other projects in town, including the Lincoln Street well and the PFAS project that's contemplated there, and what does that look like? And what does the planning for that look like? Harbor Master Facility / Welcome Center, Council on Aging, bathhouse at Singing Beach, the library, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of roundly kind of where we are. We, no decisions or recommendations made.
How frequently are you meeting?
Every other week, Chuck, at this point? Or he's got a Thursday meeting scheduled. I think we've got these weekly meetings set up actually now.
Yeah, it
Thursday,
was
every-
every other week when we were kind of doing the tour thing, but now, at least for October, we're doing every month, and we'll see when we get to the October what people, their appetite is for November. But as long as people are attending and we keep it tight, I'd like to keep it weekly for a while.
Great.
Yeah, good to keep some flow going. And then while I've got your attention, just relative to the school building committee for Essex Elementary, we've gotten into a bit of a flow of meetings. So we have
The project has the owner's project manager that's been hired, and also now the architect that's been hired. It's the same architect that we used on the memorial project, JCJ Architects. Roughly speaking, so we're in this feasibility phase, for which there are there's three sections to feasibility. There's a preliminary design phase, there's a preferred schematic phase, where you really target our recommended pathway, and then based on MSBA's approval of that recommended pathway, you start to flesh that out during schematic design, and that's what ultimately forms the budget of the project that would be considered by each community. And so those are kind of coming together such that schematic design would be complete around October of 2026, with a vote for November 2026. And construction would likely be, probably 3 years or so.
So would we have to have a special town meeting to vote on it in November 26 rather than wait until the April of 27?
In that case, yes.
Okay, okay,
It quite often
Okay.
kind of targets that kind of timing.
okay.
They're looking at different sites. I think maybe you've heard about the Apple Street site as an alternative. It doesn't seem to have a lot of favor because it's got a lot of costs and considerations going against it. And then one of the things that was part of the application process with the MSBA was also looking at the memorial school and what does it look like for the demographics of with the student size, student body size for that class relative to Essex, and you know what would it look like to absorb both in one school, which is not an overly popular idea.
More like, how can we complement each other?
Or split them. So that.
Some grades.
Yes,
Yeah.
Some
yeah,
grades.
yeah, exactly. So I have like K-3 in Essex and, you know, 4 and 5 go.
And the funding's okay, that 660 is gonna be enough. Like, is there any pressure on 6?
We haven't even paid it yet.
Oh, okay,
Oh, for this preliminary?
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I think,
we voted for it.
we're on budget for what's been considered.
Good,
So,
no surprises.
Yep. The ultimate project budget, that's a different story.
Okay.
So ultimately, people would be voting on this a year from this November.
Yes.
And it would start to hit the tax numbers in a real way in 2027.
It would begin to,
It
you know,
began to,
that kind of sequential borrowing.
like we did last time, it's like a 3-year, it's like a 2-year with the bands or whatever
Yeah.
starting.
And I think the payment doesn't happen until the project. It's
So it's been sort of 27, 28, and then a big hit 29.
So maybe 20, 30.
Yeah.
Okay. So close, a little bit of overlap with the middle high school.
That's falling off pretty fast.
Got it?
That's it.
Thanks.
Do you have any brief update?
Very
Thank-
brief. So the CPC, we had a meeting in September. Very little in the kitty, there's like 50,000 left. We opened the season for more applications. The match is around 16% this year. We were going through projects and no one had any information on the bathhouse painting job. Does anyone know, is that planning to go this fall or in the spring or? I was
It
supposed
was.
to get back to him.
It was painted this past year.
There you go.
Okay, so maybe it's already finished. I don't know, I didn't see
I
it.
I believe there's still addition, I think they,
The inside was painted,
the
right?
inside.
Not the
was painted,
outside.
Right. And,
What's the project, the inside or the outside?
I thought it was the interior.
Oh.
yeah, I think it was more. It was, the idea was a more extensive
It
project,
can help.
and they,
Well, that's what we
what
do.
they kind of changed course, cleaned it up and painted the interior. And now I think want to use some of the remaining amount to go towards a deeper dive look at what the future of the bathhouse might be.
And that's
Another study.
that's also something that's part of the discussion for the facilities plan.
Okay. So I can give that update Thursday if we have a CPC meeting. Thanks. So then the DPW, Chuck, I'm glad you're on the line because I lost my notes. I'm still looking, I'm redecorating my house. But I can go over. Pleasant Old Essex is pretty much done. There was an issue with the gas line at Old Essex, so they're gonna hold on paving that. Whether the gas line has to do work or not, and a moratorium, they're still deciding on that. Borston Mill is going on now, that's 100% grant funded, so it's kind of. The Rotunda, as you know, is no CMZ grant. And we're gonna discuss the CPC bonding maybe, or there's this other SEC grant. The library windows was a good, they cut down the scope, so there was a lot less than they had to do. Right now, the big push, the generator's working, the sump pump is working. So right now, the big push is on the ADA bathroom design. And that might be another construction capital request coming down the road to fund that construction. Let's see. Harbor, the permitting is going on. With now, what we thought was the Reed Park expansion along the railroad tracks. No, we didn't really talk about the fisherman facility, but the request was trying to avoid Reed Park to go along the railroad embankment with these force mains, if we could, because you know, force mains on a floating dock system is a maintenance time bomb for a small harbor, really. Anyway, 7 Tappan Street, the design is proceeding. They're gonna plan to do soup to nuts with, they said that the sewer needs replacing, the water, drainage, sidewalks, and that they were going for FY 27, it's about 4 million. I made a comment to try to look at maybe raising the streets 3 inches by Beach Street as a start to sea level rise. We're not gonna save property, but we do want to provide access in a flood, and every inch you can raise the roads is, you know, anyway, so that was happening. Sewage plant design is proceeding. The clarifiers were very expensive, and they're looking to tailor the scope to the budget that they have. It's basically the electrical, mechanical stuff, processed water, and the clarifiers. PFAS we talked about. Water meters are ramping up, everything's going well, and that's on track. It's gonna also involve lead pipe inspections and sump pump inspections when they do it. Let's see, the site design, most of the work is complete that they can do. And now they're in the evaluation phase with whether to put the public safety building up there or down below, or how to, you know, that, so that's facilities. There was some additional money that came in our annual roadway grants. There was like another 50% came in, but I think that's gonna get absorbed up pretty quickly. What else?
Okay, thank you. Any other liaison updates? I met with the fire chief, but we just went over the grant stuff, so we already discussed. Yes, Andrea.
Just found out yesterday that we just got our 9th award for our financial statements.
Fantastic,
Right.
congratulations.
Nervous.
It's great.
Nice job.
Great job.
Detail.
I couldn't do it with all the department heads because it's a whole team effort, so I really appreciate what the board.
So that's the 9th one,
9th one.
yesterday.
I know, it seems like we just started. God, we've been here too long, Lori. Next item is to approve the July minutes. Gail sent those, whoops. Yesterday, she sent out minutes from July 16th. People have a chance to look at those. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Maureen, oops. Who seconded?
Andy said.
Andy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I was gonna tell people that I did go out and recruit somebody for the finance committee. Has not yet been appointed, but it's John Croft, who was on the finance committee quite a few years ago. Had to twist his arm a little bit.
Nice job.
Our next meeting. We've been doing third Wednesday, would like to switch to Thursday, November 20th. Thursday, November 20th, does that work?
Yes. So. Elementary school community meeting, but I think.
Okay, so
Third Wednesday. of each month.
Thursday,
Thursday.
Third Thursday. of
we
each month.
switched from Wednesday to Thursday.
Yep.
So our next meeting would be November 20th. Looks like, yeah, we have capital and we have the fiscal year 26 budget timeline. And the launch service.
Got a quick quarter 1 report on there as well.
And the quarter one report. Anything else?
We'll, as part of that capital, we'll probably by then have a better idea of the senior center
Okay.
piece, where we met with ECCF the other day, just kind of figuring out how the process needs to work regarding them doing the fundraising and how they distribute the funds to the town, and is it reimbursement, you know, all those types
Yeah.
of things. So hopefully we'll have some
That's gonna be
clarity
a
on-
painful discussion. Okay. Any other business? Anything else anybody would like to raise? I'll take a motion to adjourn. Andy moves, Maury seconds, all in favor? Aye. Okay. See? It's not 9:30 yet.
No, it's not. We should strive for 9.
Yes.
2-hour meetings.
Absolutely, the best.
Very good. Not bad for the first.
It was a long agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's like indoctrination of Congress.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh. My schedule's really screwed up.
Girl, you know, Formus, sign.
Oh, yes, please. Will it be tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's yours?
This is mine. I sent Jake a note. Those guys did a magnificent job. The Beverly Hospital.
What happened? Trip?
Bring up the stupidity award this year. I fell off the roof. Oh, boy. I'm actually lucky I didn't.
Yeah, you are lucky.
Yeah, I
Is it
came
knee,
down
is it knee or hip?
ankle, so I broke my ankle. And had 10 days of letting the swelling go down. We did surgery at Beverly Hospital, which is excellent sports medicine.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of rolling out. It's covering. I've got gear left over for my parents and wheelchairs and.
Welcome to old age.
The dog looks at me coming in the wheelchair, she's like. Yeah, I do have a little bag, but yeah.
It's an e-scooter?
It is. Oh, yeah, those things are great. Try it out. Here, I'll take this off. Give it a spin.